question came in that this person is a new CPC-A, so they're an apprentice. They just passed the exam and didn't have enough experience yet to drop that A category. But she's working in the billing department, which is a great place to go. She's handling all of the Florida straight Medicaid and Humana Medicaid replacement claims. So dealing specifically with Medicaid. So the question is, what is needed for an ultrasound pregnancy, no matter the trimester, but mainly that first trimester to be paid? All of our claims are being denied. We have our own machine and our own provider who can read the report, so no modifier was needed. So they're asking for some help. So this actually, I went straight to Florida Medicaid. So that's where a lot of the answers are coming from, are specifically Florida. But let me start out with some of these ultrasound codes. Now, when we look at the codes for ultrasound, we have the obstetrical and non-obstetrical codes, and obstetrical will go by the trimester. So you have ultrasound, real-time image, fetal evaluation, first trimester. So that's under the 14 weeks and 0 days. And that's for single. So that's one baby. So then they have each additional gestation. So each additional is a different code. Then you have ultrasound, real-time imaging, limited. So they're just looking for that heartbeat. They're wanting to make sure the placenta is placed properly, the baby's placed properly, or looking at the amniotic fluid. And that's one or more fetuses. So it doesn't matter because they're just doing a limited view. They're just looking for something specific. And then we have the transvaginal ultrasound real-time image. So every state has their own rules when it comes to medical assistance, and it's really easy to find. You just go to your state's medical assistance plan in the little search field. You can put provider handbook, provider manual, provider, see what comes up. There might be a tab specifically for providers. It's really easy to find, and their information is gonna be their rules. So you don't need to go anywhere else. You don't need to guess. What they say is what's gonna happen. So I went to state of Florida in particular, and surprisingly, they have, I don't know how many handbooks. So there were multiple handbooks. So it took a while to find it. They have a reimbursement handbook, they have a provider handbook, they have a general handbook, they had all different handbooks. And in one handbook, they referenced another handbook, so then I had to go look up that one. So some of the information in particular for medical assistance for Florida dealing with obstetrics and ultrasounds was: the services can only be provided by that rendering provider, not a supervising provider. So these are not services by a nurse practitioner, or they call it something else in their state. I forget what they call it, advanced practitioner, I think, or a physician assistant. These are by the rendering provider. So it's not a supervisory service. So maybe that could be a denial reason there. They have ultrasound codes. They take one code per pregnancy, regardless of risks. So that's the one code that they accept as the first one. On a complex pregnancy, you can do a more in-depth ultrasound code, but it's limited to specific specialties, radiology, or a maternal fetal provider specialties. And the book actually gives the code for that specialist. So when you register with your state medical assistance plan, you're given a code for what kind of specialist you are. So this one specifically called out those specialties. Or a different code for multiple gestations, but they only do one per pregnancy. If you needed a follow-up ultrasound for specific diagnoses, and they have a diagnosis code, which is in Appendix C of the manual, you can have a maximum of up to 3 follow-up ultrasounds. So out of those 2 codes. So then if you have more than 3 are needed, say there's some kind of problem, you're going to submit additional codes in the state of Florida with a modifier 22, along with documentation. So you have to, after 3, you're sending the code with an additional modifier and your medical records. That diagnosis code is not on that Appendix C that they have listed. Then you submit with a modifier 22. If you need that abbreviated, that limited one that's just looking for the heartbeat or such, it's when it's clinically indicated. So they're looking for their medical necessity. They allow it. If you need a follow-up or a re-eval, you have to send documentation. So there's a lot of reasons here that possibly these codes are being denied. Either they're using the wrong code, it needs that modifier, it needs some kind of documentation. Only one ultrasound for the same date for the same patient. So perhaps they're going someplace else. Perhaps you did a second one somewhere. So they're only going to pay one. They call it an advanced registered nurse practitioner or a PA. They can order an ultrasound, but they can't do the ultrasounds. So that could be another reason there. If you're just hired on a new PA and they're seeing all these people in the pregnancy period, pre-pregnancy or pre-delivery period, then possibly that's could be one reason why they're getting denied. They won't allow a transvaginal ultrasound before 16 to 20 weeks gestation. So, and they only give 3 per pregnancy. So there's a lot of reasons here. That link is it's a PDF. So you can just search it as well, the Practitioner Services Handbook for Florida. There's many pages, like 6, 7, 8 pages about obstetrics. And they give a lot of information there. So that's where you can go to find all this stuff. Now they said Appendix C. The only problem I had with this handbook is the last update was 2012. So they're using ICD-9 codes. So whether these codes are going to exactly crosswalk to an ICD-10, I'm not sure. I don't know why their code, the other manual, the provider reimbursement manual, hasn't been updated since 2008. So 2012 was the latest update for this manual where they mentioned these obstetric ultrasound procedures. So I would definitely want to get a hold of the provider rep to see if they have an updated ICD-10 list for your pregnancy codes for ultrasounds. But that's just a short list, but as you can see why some of the reasons they're saying, of course, they're over 35, they have hyperthyroidism, they have a seizure disorder. So there's specific reasons why they will allow more ultrasounds than the 3 that they want to give. So there could be many reasons. Another thing to make sure always when you're dealing with medical assistance is that you're verifying the patient's eligibility. Are they not eligible? You need to also verify that that's the correct insurance. So do they have this, she said straight Florida or this Humana Medicaid? Maybe under that day they were put under a different plan. So those are things always to keep in mind with medical assistance, is to always confirm the eligibility. But any medical assistance plan, any state, for no matter your specialty, family practice, obstetrics, cardiology, they should have in the handbook specific requirements. Our state of Maryland, we only allow 4 modifiers. So you don't even use a 59. So they only allow 4 modifiers and that's it. They won't even process a claim without it. So it just depends on your state, and just make sure you're double checking your provider manual for that state, and all the answers should be there.
Do you need more medical certification and business training? Learn more at www.cco.us.